The stars had never felt so silent. Not the calm silence of peace, but the tense quiet of a galaxy holding its breath. In the Terran Alliance Command Center, alarms blared across the control room. Holographic displays flickered, showing hundreds of alien warships emerging from the edge of the Ort cluster, a massive fleet stretching across hundreds of kilometers in space. Admiral Lyra Thorne stood at the center, her eyes wide, yet sharp. She had fought in border skirmishes, negotiated tense alliances, and survived the collapse of distant colonies. But nothing like this. The fleet before her wasn't just large, it was terrifying. Its ships moved in perfect formation, their weapons glowing ominously. Every system of the Terran Alliance had radared them moments before. They had no idea where they came from or why they were here. "They're coming for war," muttered Captain Ryan, standing beside her. His hands clenched the railing as if it could hold back the approaching fleet. "And they'll take everything if we don't stop them," Thorne replied. The Terran Alliance had fleets, yes, hundreds of ships across multiple systems, but their forces were spread thin. Most vessels were in routine patrols, protection missions, and scientific explorations. Gathering all ships would take time they did not have. The human colonies, scattered across dozens of worlds, would be defenseless for weeks. Meanwhile, across the central command room, a small alert blinked on the screen. "Deployment. SS Resolute." A murmur ran through the room. The Resolute was humanity's latest experimental ship, designed for intelligence and speed rather than heavy firepower. Its hull was sleek, its engines faster than anything most aliens could chase. But it was small, with only a handful of weapons and a crew of 80. Against the massive alien fleet, it seemed a symbol. One human ship against hundreds. Admiral Thorne tapped the display. "It's all we have ready. Captain Elias Var will take her." Captain Elias Var was young for his rank, but seasoned in unconventional warfare. His crew trusted him because he always made decisions based on both logic and instinct. He entered the room with calm confidence, his dark uniform crisp against the flashing lights. "Admiral," he said, saluting. "You want a hero story or do you want me to stop them?" Thorne allowed herself a small smile. "Stop them and don't die." Var nodded. "No promises," he said, and left to board the Resolute. The human ship slid silently out of the Terran shipyards. The Resolute was small, sleek, and unassuming compared to the massive capital ships that were being hastily scrambled across the Alliance. Its crew moved with precision, checking weapons, running diagnostics, and preparing for the unknown. Lieutenant Arya Doss, the ship's chief engineer, glanced at the main display. 80 ships in formation, their enormous shields layered 10 times over, engines calibrated for rapid advance. "How do we even begin?" Var leaned over her console. "We don't begin the way they expect. That's the point." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member knew their captain was not reckless. His confidence wasn't bravado. It was the quiet certainty of someone who had already solved problems no one else dared to touch. Sensors beeped suddenly. A massive object appeared in front of them. A colossal battleship, its hull black as space, lined with pulsing red weapons. This was a command ship, the kind that led fleets and coordinated attacks. Its bridge crew stared at it in awe and fear. "Is that real?" whispered Ensign Cade, gripping his console. "It's very real," Var said, eyes fixed on the view screen. "And it's about to make a mistake." Back in the Terran Command Center, Admiral Thorne watched as the alien fleet slowly moved toward human space. Reports streamed in from outer colonies. Communications were breaking down. Panic had begun to spread. Worlds that had never faced danger before were preparing for evacuation, their citizens fleeing to the core worlds. "This is madness," said Captain Ryan. "No single ship can stop them. We need the fleets united now." Thorne shook her head. "By the time they gather, it may be too late. Var has the Resolute, small, fast, unpredictable. That's our only edge right now." The alien fleet's first wave entered the outer planetary defenses. Massive energy cannons swiveled, firing at targets, but they were already too slow. The aliens were used to coordinated, predictable fleets. Humans were not predictable. Aboard the Resolute, the crew worked in perfect synchrony. Var had taught them that their small size was not a disadvantage. Speed, stealth, and thinking like an unpredictable predator could allow them to strike where it hurt the most. Engage stealth, Var commanded. Approach the command ship. Do not fire yet. Let them underestimate us. The ship shimmered, activating experimental cloaking technology that bent light around it. Sensors read the alien fleet's formations as usual, but the humans were invisible. The alien fleet noticed nothing. They assumed a small scouting ship would take weeks to get close. But the Resolute moved fast, threading through asteroid fields, slipping past sensor nets and bypassing defensive patrols. Lieutenant Doss smiled. They don't even know we're here. Var's eyes never left the command ship. Soon they will. Inside the alien command ship, Admiral Krath studied the battle formation. Send scouts, he ordered. We cannot allow even one human ship to disrupt the fleet. Scouts were dispatched, sleek probes moving at incredible speeds. But the HFY humans had anticipated this. The Resolute twisted, turned, and deployed small decoy drones, confusing the scouts. By the time the aliens realized what had happened, the ship was already near their command ship. Krath's sensors picked up something unusual, an anomaly in the fleet's perimeter. What is that? Target it! The human ship's cloaking shimmered, and suddenly it struck. A precise, small-scale missile detonated near the flagship's communications array, not to destroy it, but to scramble it. Alien systems went haywire, sensors failing, engines misfiring. Panic rippled through the alien. Ranks, what? How can one ship? Krath's voice broke off as alarms blared across the command bridge. In the Resolute, the crew cheered quietly. It worked, whispered Cade. They're confused. Var's smile was grim. This is just the beginning. Now we make them doubt everything they know about war. Humans are unpredictable. The ship moved again, slipping between massive cruisers, dodging fire with impossible agility. Every maneuver was precise, every strike calculated. The humans were small, but they were not weak. They were clever, fast, and fearless, a combination that the aliens had never faced. Back on the Terran Command Center, Thorne watched the reports come in. Her eyes widened as she saw the alien fleet's confusion spread. Ships collided, weapons misfired, formations broke apart. The reports confirmed what no one dared hope. A single human ship was already having a significant impact on a fleet meant to destroy worlds. Captain Ryan shook his head. Impossible. A single human ship? Thorne smiled faintly. Not impossible. Unpredictable. That night, across the stars, the Resolute drifted silently through the battlefield. Its crew rested only briefly, their minds racing with strategies, possibilities, and what lay ahead. The alien fleet had not yet realized the full scope of human ingenuity. They thought size and firepower would always win, but humans were something else entirely. Captain Elias Var looked out at the stars. They came for war, he whispered to himself, and they will learn. One human ship can stop it. The stars shimmered, and for the first time the galaxy saw that humans were a force unlike any other, small, yet capable of extraordinary courage and unmatched cleverness. The war had not begun, but the legend of the Resolute had just been born. The stars seemed endless as the Resolute moved silently through the alien fleet. Captain Elias Var stood on the bridge, eyes scanning the displays, his mind alive with possibilities. The alien fleet was enormous, but enormous did not mean unbeatable. Humans had a gift that no amount of size or firepower could match: unpredictability. Captain, Lieutenant Arya Doss said, pointing at the sensor map. They're trying to reorganize. The command ship is directing smaller cruisers to block our path. Var smiled. Let them try. The Resolute slipped past the first wave, dodging energy blasts that should have hit it. The ship moved in ways the aliens could not predict, rolling, twisting, even reversing engines mid-flight. Every maneuver was calculated, yet seemed reckless to an outsider. That was the advantage. The aliens expected rigid patterns. Humans did not have patterns. Ensign Cade, the youngest crew member, watched in awe. How are we doing this? They have thousands of guns. One hit, and we're done. Var glanced at him. They don't understand us. That's our strength. Fear and logic are predictable. Courage is not. The first strike was carefully planned. The Resolute approached an alien cruiser twice its size. Its shields were thick, weapons lethal. Most attacking it head-on would be suicide, but humans did not think that way. Prepare a microcharge, Var ordered. We're not destroying it, just sending a message. The crew worked quickly. Engineers rerouted power to a single, experimental weapon. It was a small blast, enough to hit the cruiser's engines, disabling its speed without killing the crew inside. Within seconds, the massive cruiser spun out of formation, colliding with another ship. The bridge erupted in cheers. One down, Cade shouted. Var held up a hand. Not done yet. Observe and learn. They will make mistakes, and we will exploit them. Meanwhile, the alien fleet's command ship, Dreadstar, was in chaos. Admiral Krath could not comprehend what was happening. How can one ship do this? They have no fleet to support them. Attack! Missiles launched toward the Resolute. Energy beams sliced through space, but the small human ship seemed everywhere at once. It twisted around asteroid fields, through nebula clouds, using the environment to hide, confuse, and strike. Every alien attack missed or hit empty space. Impossible, Krath roared. There is no escape. Destroy it. The humans were learning their enemies' patterns faster than the aliens could respond. Humans observed, adapted, and acted in ways no machine or strategy manual could predict. On the Resolute, the crew moved like a single organism. Lieutenant Doss worked her engineering console, rerouting power and monitoring weapon systems. They're adjusting formation. They're trying to predict us. Var's eyes narrowed. Good. Let them think they can. Humans fight best when underestimated. Prepare the next phase. We're going to show them something they won't forget. A wave of micro-drones deployed from the ship, invisible to alien sensors. They moved quickly, cutting communications lines, jamming signals, and causing the alien fleet to misfire repeatedly. The chaos grew with every passing minute. Ships collided, some fired on their own allies, and formations broke apart. Captain, Ensign Cade said, shocked. They're hurting each other. Var smiled. Yes. Confusion is a weapon humans wield naturally. The aliens began sending boarding crafts attempting to capture the Resolute, but humans were ready. Defense drones activated, intercepting the enemy ships. The aliens' plans fell apart. They could not understand why a single ship was so effective against hundreds. Even more impressive, the humans were careful. They avoided unnecessary killing, disabling ships without destroying lives whenever possible. That unpredictability, mercy paired with skill, frustrated the aliens further. They could not anticipate mercy. Their strategies relied on fear, brutality, and predictable outcomes. This is incredible, Doss whispered. We're turning the tide with one ship. Var nodded. One ship can make a difference when it has the courage to act. The Resolute then used its speed to slip between the main alien formations. It was risky, but Var had a plan. Using asteroid clusters as cover, the humans approached a critical point, the fleet's command network. Disabling it would cripple coordination across the entire fleet. Arya, prep the ion pulse. Cade, assist. Everyone else, stand by, Var ordered. The crew worked swiftly. Systems hummed. Power surged through circuits and a wave of energy pulsed outward from the Resolute. Alien ship systems flickered. Engines sputtered. Weapons went offline. Chaos multiplied. Admiral Krath screamed over the comms, but it was useless. The humans had struck again. Captain, Doss said, her hands trembling with excitement. They can't even target us now. Var smiled, proud but focused. Exactly. They're blind. Now we see. The alien fleet was in disarray. Smaller cruisers collided. Capital ships misfired and their formations collapsed. The humans moved calmly through the battlefield, exploiting every opening. The one small ship had become a symbol of fear and awe. "They are fearless," whispered a junior officer on a distant colony monitoring the battle. "And they're smart, too smart." Indeed, humans were operating on a level the aliens could not calculate. They predicted movements, created diversions, and struck precisely where it hurt the most, all without losing a single member of their crew. Var knew this advantage would not last forever. The aliens would adapt, but the lesson was clear. Human mind was a weapon no amount of ships could fully counter. Suddenly, a massive alien destroyer activated its long-range weapons. The Resolute's shields could not survive a direct hit. But Var was ready. Engage evasive protocols. Lead them into the nebula field. The ship twisted, and the destroyer fired. The beam cut through the edge of the nebula, scattering into ionized gas and losing power. The Resolute disappeared inside the field, invisible and untouchable. Inside the nebula, the humans set traps. Magnetic mines, sensor jammers, and decoy pulses waited for the pursuing alien ships. As the destroyer entered, it collided with invisible hazards, its engines failing, and it spun out of control. "Another one down," Cade said, amazed. Var nodded. "Keep moving. We have more to do. This fleet may be large, but humans think differently. We win because we refuse to act like them." Back on the alien command ship, Admiral Krath's frustration reached its peak. How can one ship defeat hundreds? Their tactics, their thinking, impossible. Krath was right. Humans were not. Just strong or fast. They were clever, unpredictable, and fearless. Every attack Krath ordered failed. Every plan fell apart. The aliens realized they were facing a force they could not calculate. "Prepare reinforcements," Krath growled. "We cannot lose to a single ship. We will crush them with everything we have." Even as he ordered the reinforcements, doubt crept into his mind. One human ship had already disabled critical systems, scattered the fleet, and forced retreat for many vessels. Could they truly be stopped? The Resolute continued its assault, small strikes, distractions, and intelligent maneuvers. Humans moved, with precision, courage, and unity. Every crew member contributed, their teamwork flawless. The aliens were skilled, but rigid. Humans were flexible, inventive, and daring. Var watched the alien fleet falter on the display. "They don't understand," he said quietly. "Humans don't fight like anyone else. We adapt, we improvise, and we never give up." Lieutenant Doss smiled. "Then let's show them how humans win." For the first time, the galaxy began to see that humans were something special. One small ship, one crew, could challenge an entire armada and survive. The Resolute was not just a ship. It was a symbol. Humans were clever, fearless, and unpredictable, and that made them unstoppable. As the Resolute vanished into the next sector of space, Captain Var whispered to himself, "They came for war, and we're going to make them regret it." The alien fleet had underestimated humans. They would learn, soon enough, that size and numbers meant nothing when facing courage, intelligence, and determination. The battle was far from over, but one fact had become undeniable. One human ship had changed the course of history. The galaxy had never seen such a sight. A single human ship, small and lightly armed, had already scattered an alien fleet that had struck fear across countless systems. Yet Captain Elias Var knew the hardest part was yet to come. The alien fleet was regrouping. They would not be fooled again so easily. On the bridge of the Resolute, the crew worked with precision. Every display flashed with enemy movement. Every console hummed with calculations and predictions. Lieutenant Arya Doss leaned over her instruments, analyzing energy signatures. "They're forming a new line, heavier ships, longer-range weapons. They've learned from our earlier attacks." Var studied the display, eyes sharp. "Good. That means they'll be predictable for the first time. Everyone, get ready. This is where we show them that humans are not just clever, they're fearless." "Ensign," Cade shifted nervously. "Captain, there's too many of them. We can't possibly—" Var cut him off gently. We don't need to fight them the way they expect. Watch, learn, and act, one move at a time. The alien fleet now moved with brutal efficiency. Their cruisers formed a blockade, creating a wall of firepower designed to crush any intruder. The Resolute was tiny in comparison, like a single arrow against a giant shield. Yet humans had one advantage aliens could never anticipate: creativity. VAR plotted a course that would thread the Resolute through a dense asteroid belt near the fleet's flank. The aliens had calculated trajectories for empty space, not for unpredictable movements between massive asteroids. Engage evasive maneuvers, VAR commanded. Drones, prepare to deploy decoys. The ship twisted and rolled, weaving between massive space rocks. Alien weapons fired, energy beams slicing through the void, but most passed harmlessly. The Resolute released decoy drones that mimicked its signature, confusing alien targeting systems. One cruiser fired a massive salvo and hit its own ally instead. Another one down. Cade muttered, astonished. Patience, VAR said calmly. We're just getting started. The humans had another advantage. Their AI-assisted tactics could predict enemy responses in ways the aliens could not comprehend. VAR had programmed the AI not just for speed, but for creativity. It suggested maneuvers no alien mind would consider, paths that seemed reckless, but were safe for humans. Doss smiled at the readout. Captain, it's predicting 4 moves ahead. And every time, the aliens fail to anticipate it. Good, VAR replied. Let's teach them what happens when humans think differently. The first strike was surgical. The Resolute targeted the alien fleet's energy relay stations, small satellites controlling shields and weapons across multiple ships. One precise micro-missile disabled them without destroying the stations entirely. Alien ships suddenly found themselves without coordinated defense. Their fleet staggered. Krath's voice roared across the command ship. Impossible! Focus fire! Target the human ship! But every move he ordered fell into traps humans had already set. Ships misfired, collided, or were led into asteroid fields. The more the aliens attacked, the more chaos they created for themselves. VAR called a brief meeting with his senior officers. They're aggressive, but they're predictable in their aggression. Let's use it. Doss nodded. Their flagship, the Dreadstar, is preparing a direct strike. If it hits, we're done. VAR's lips curved into a small, confident smile. Then we bait it, lead it where it cannot win. The Resolute shifted course, luring the flagship toward a massive nebula cloud. The aliens had powerful sensors, but nebula gases scrambled signals, weakened weapons, and made navigation difficult. Humans, small and fast, could move through with precision. As the Dreadstar followed, its weapons misfired in the cloud, hitting nothing but ionized gas. Humans activated magnetic mines hidden in the cloud. The massive ship collided with them, engines sparking, weapons offline. Panic rippled through the alien ranks. Captain, they're slowing down, Cade said, disbelief in his voice. Good, VAR replied. Now we finish this. The Resolute struck again, targeting key weapon arrays on the flagship. Small bursts of energy disabled turrets without destroying them entirely. The aliens had learned to rely on brute force, but humans relied on strategy. They fought in ways the enemy could not understand. Meanwhile, smaller alien ships tried to flank the human vessel. But VAR had anticipated this. Using the asteroid belt, they created false paths, leading the enemy into traps. Drones exploded near cruisers, causing internal damage and further confusion. Every attack by the aliens became a failure, costing them more than it should. Captain, their fleet is in total disarray, Doss reported. Many ships are malfunctioning or colliding. VAR nodded. Exactly as planned. Keep moving. Don't. Give them a chance to recover. The alien fleet's morale began to crumble. Officers argued on the Dreadstar bridge. How can one ship, one tiny human ship, cause so much damage? Krath slammed his fist against the console. Destroy. Every last human aboard must die, but the humans had already moved beyond reach. The Resolute slipped through gaps, striking again at power cores, weapons arrays, and engines. Every attack was precise, every move unpredictable. They were fast, clever, and fearless, a combination the aliens had never faced. For the first time, humans demonstrated that courage, intelligence, and adaptability were more dangerous than numbers. The alien fleet had all the firepower but none of the flexibility. Every mistake humans exploited became a lesson. Every successful maneuver built confidence. In one daring move, the Resolute approached a group of heavily armed cruisers. The plan was simple but risky. Disable their engines simultaneously. Engineers worked frantically to calculate timing. A single misstep, and the humans would be destroyed. "Ready?" Var asked. "Ready," Doss replied. The humans fired synchronized pulses. Explosions rocked the cruisers, not lethal, but devastating enough to stop them. Ships spun out of formation, crashing into each other or drifting helplessly. Alien commanders shouted, but it was too late. Their fleet was collapsing under its own weight. Cade could hardly breathe. "We did it! We actually did it!" Var's voice was calm but firm. "Stay focused. This is far from over." The flagship, Dreadstar, now attempted a final assault, concentrating all its firepower on the human ship. Var had anticipated this. Using a combination of decoys, drones, and evasive maneuvers, the Resolute led it straight into a field of micromines hidden in an asteroid cluster. The flagship's massive hull was damaged, its weapons misfiring, engines faltering. Krath could only watch helplessly. His fleet, massive and powerful, had been scattered and disabled by a single human ship. Every attack he had ordered had failed. Every calculation proved useless. Var looked at his crew. "They underestimated us. That was their mistake." Dossie smiled. "They still don't understand what humans can do." With the fleet in chaos, the humans took the opportunity to disable command ships and communication arrays. Alien coordination collapsed entirely. Without guidance, the rest of the fleet either retreated or destroyed themselves in collisions and misfired attacks. The Resolute moved calmly through the battlefield, small and unscathed. Every human aboard knew that courage, intelligence, and unity had won the day, not weapons or numbers. Across the galaxy, observers watched in amazement. One human ship, lightly armed and 80 strong, had brought a fleet to its knees. Legends of humans' unpredictable courage began to spread. Vari turned to his crew. "Remember this moment," he said quietly. "One ship, one crew, and a clear mind can make a difference. The galaxy will never underestimate humans again." Doss nodded. "We've proven it. But what if they come back?" Var's eyes were sharp, determined. "Then we'll be ready. Humans never back down. We fight, we adapt, and we win. That is who we are." The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and the Resolute drifted silently through the wreckage of the alien fleet. One ship, one crew had changed the course of a war, but in the heart of Captain Var and his crew, they knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen the human edge, and it was more dangerous than any weapon: courage, intelligence, and the power to act when no one else could. The galaxy held its breath. After hours of chaos, the alien fleet lay scattered, crippled, and leaderless. Yet Captain Elias Var knew the fight was far from over. The alien flagship, the Dreadstar, still loomed ahead, its massive hull scarred, but its weapons operational. If it fired at full strength, the Resolute would not survive. "Status report," Var commanded, eyes locked on the massive vessel ahead. Lieutenant Arya Doss's fingers flew across the console. "Engines at 20%. Shields down 30%. Weapons functional but unstable. They're trying to recover." Var nodded. "Good. That means we have one clear advantage. They underestimate us. Again." Ensign Cade swallowed nervously. "Captain, it's huge. If we fail, it's over." Var looked at him calmly. "Then we don't fail. Humans never fail when they rely on courage, intelligence, and teamwork. Remember that. The crew straightened, hearts steadying. They had already proven the impossible. Now it was time to finish the job. The Resolute advanced cautiously, weaving between debris from the destroyed alien fleet. Every move was calculated to provoke the flagship into overextending. Var knew the aliens relied on brute force, assuming sheer size would always win. Humans had a different philosophy: precision, cleverness, and daring. "Prepare the ion pulse," Var ordered. "This is the moment." Doss's console glowed as she activated the weapon, a concentrated energy burst designed to disable systems, temporarily. It wasn't a weapon of destruction. It was a tool to level the playing field. The Resolute fired. The pulse surged toward the Dreadstar, striking its primary weapon systems. Energy shields flickered, turrets jammed, and communications scrambled. The flagship staggered, unsteady and vulnerable. Krath's voice boomed through the comm system. "What is this? Stop it. Target the human." But targeting was useless. The Resolute moved faster than the flagship could track. Var had planned every maneuver, predicting Krath's reactions like moves on a chessboard. "Captain, they're regrouping fighters for a concentrated attack," Doss warned. Var studied the display. "Good. We'll give them exactly what they want, and then turn it against them." The Resolute darted into the path of the alien fighters, baiting them into a narrow asteroid corridor. The aliens followed, confident in their numbers. But the humans had planted micromines and electromagnetic traps in the corridor. One by one, the fighters collided, engines failing, weapons sparking. Some turned on each other, blinded by malfunctioning targeting systems. Chaos spread like wildfire. "Excellent," Var said quietly. "Let them overreach." With the fighters neutralized, the focus returned to the flagship. Var knew a direct assault would be suicide. The solution was unconventional, exactly the kind humans excelled at. "Prepare the boarding drones," he said. "We're not killing them yet. We're taking control." Doss raised an eyebrow. "You want to board the flagship? With 80 people?" Var smiled. "Not us, our drones. Tiny, fast, intelligent. We get inside, disable systems, and force a surrender without risking lives unnecessarily." The drones launched, slipping past damaged turrets and through gaps in the hull. Inside the Dreadstar, they sabotaged engines, jammed weapons, and disabled communications. Krath's officers scrambled, trying to regain control, but the human drones moved faster than their responses. On the bridge of the Resolute, the crew watched as the flagship began to falter. "Captain, they're slowing. Systems are failing," Cade said, eyes wide with disbelief. Var's smile was quiet, but firm. "Now comes the final step. We show them that humans fight differently." He activated the ship's communication system. A direct channel to the Dreadstar opened. Krath's furious face appeared on the display, eyes blazing. "Human scum, you will die for this," Krath shouted. Var's voice was calm, unwavering. "Admiral Krath, this does not need to end in death. Your fleet is crippled. Your weapons are failing. Surrender peacefully and no one else will be harmed." Krath's fists slammed the console. "Never. Humans are insignificant. I will destroy you." Var leaned closer to the display. "Then you will die. But if you surrender, your people live. The choice is yours." Krath hesitated. Every weapon on the Dreadstar had failed in rapid succession. Engines faltered, systems sparkled with damage. The humans had done what seemed impossible. A single ship had rendered the flagship helpless without destroying it entirely. "Take evasive measures," Krath screamed, but it was too late. The Resolute had anticipated every maneuver. The drones inside had taken control of critical systems, leaving the flagship blind and powerless. Doss leaned back in disbelief. "They're surrendering?" Var nodded. "Exactly as planned. Humans win not just by fighting. They win by thinking." Across the remaining alien fleet, the news spread quickly. The flagship, once the symbol of power and terror, was now immobilized. Without coordination, the rest of the ships had no choice but to retreat or risk destruction. Chaos rippled through the fleet like wildfire. For the first time, humans' reputation as unpredictable and courageous spread across alien systems. It was no longer a rumor. One human ship had stopped a massive fleet. Back on the Resolute, the crew celebrated quietly. Not loudly. There was no need. Their victory was precise, intelligent, and complete. Every member knew that courage, creativity, and teamwork had done what brute force could not. Var turned to his crew. Remember this moment. You've just seen the truth. Humans are not the biggest, strongest, or most powerful. But we are clever, fearless, and unstoppable when we work together. Cade smiled. We really did it, Captain. One ship. One ship, Var confirmed, against 101. That is what humans do. Meanwhile, the aliens began retreating. Smaller ships fled. Capital ships limped back to safe zones. The Dreadstar floated, immobile but alive, a reminder of the humans' ingenuity. Krath's defeat was not just tactical. It was a lesson in humility, strategy, and fear. Humans had shown that numbers and size were meaningless against courage, intelligence, and adaptability. The galaxy would remember this day. Var knew that this victory would inspire others. Humanity's reputation would spread. Allies would rally, enemies would hesitate. But more challenges were coming. The galaxy was vast and danger never truly ended. Still, for now, the humans had proven that one ship, guided by clever minds and brave hearts, could change history. As the Resolute drifted through the remnants of the battlefield, Captain Var spoke quietly to himself. They came to conquer. And we've shown them, one human ship can turn the tide of war. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, quiet and vast. The Resolute moved onward, small but unstoppable. And somewhere in the galaxy, everyone began to understand a simple truth. Humans were a force no one could predict, and no one could control. The turning point had been reached. The galaxy would never forget it. The stars seemed calm after the chaos. The alien fleet, once the most feared in the galaxy, had scattered. The Dreadstar lay crippled, its once mighty weapons silent, its hull scarred but intact. And in the center of it all, the Resolute drifted. Through the void, small but unbroken, a symbol of human courage and ingenuity. Captain Elias Var stood on the bridge, eyes scanning the battlefield one last time. He felt no pride, only a deep, quiet satisfaction. The galaxy had witnessed something new. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were clever, adaptable, and fearless. And they had just turned the tide of war with one ship and 80 brave souls. Lieutenant Arya Doss broke the silence. Captain, the fleet is retreating. No one is pursuing. They know they cannot stop us. Var nodded. Good. Let them go. They'll think twice before attacking humans again. Ensign Cade stared at the retreating ships, awe in his eyes. I can't believe it. One ship, and we did all of this. Var smiled faintly. Not just the ship, Cade, the crew, the mind, courage. That is what makes humans unstoppable. Back on the Dreadstar, Admiral Krath was fuming. His fleet had been humbled by a species he considered weak, primitive. He had expected numbers, weapons, and strategy to guarantee victory. Instead, humans had defied all logic. They had fought differently. They had adapted. They had won. Krath's officers whispered among themselves, fear and respect mixing in equal measure. They are unpredictable, one said. We cannot calculate their moves. Krath's eyes narrowed. Prepare the fleet for retreat. We cannot risk another encounter. These humans, they are dangerous. And just like that, the legend of humans began to spread across alien systems, not as a rumor, but as undeniable truth. The Resolute returned to the Terran Alliance colonies, to overwhelming astonishment. Observers had watched the battle unfold from orbit, expecting certain human defeat. Instead, the ship appeared alone, unscathed, while reports came in of the alien fleet's retreat and the crippled flagship. Crowds gathered on viewing platforms, cheering. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers all stared in awe. Humans had accomplished the impossible. A single ship had stopped an entire armada. Admiral Lyra Thorne met Var on the landing platform. "Captain," she said, voice filled with pride and disbelief. I don't even know what to say. You and your crew, you've changed everything." Var shook his head. "We didn't do it alone. Every human who works together, who thinks, who takes risks, that's what changes the galaxy." Doss stepped forward. "We showed that humans are more than just weapons. Our intelligence, our courage. That's what makes us strong." Thorne nodded. "And the galaxy will remember this day. Humans are a force to be reckoned with." News of the Resolute's victory spread faster than light. Systems across the Terran Alliance hailed humans as heroes. Other civilizations that had been wary of humanity began seeking alliances, eager to learn from them, to be protected by them, or to simply avoid confrontation. Even neutral planets recognized that humans were no longer a species to dismiss. One of the core worlds, a council of alien leaders debated the outcome. "One ship against a fleet, and they won," a delegate said. "We must reconsider how we approach them." Another nodded. "Humans are clever. They do not fight like others. Their minds are as dangerous as their ships." And so humans' reputation began to grow, not as conquerors, but as an unpredictable, unstoppable force. The galaxy had learned to respect them. Meanwhile, on the Resolute, the crew reflected on their victory. They were exhausted but proud. The ship had survived, not because of sheer firepower, but because humans used their greatest weapons: intelligence, teamwork, and courage. Var addressed his crew. "Remember this, always. We did not win because we were bigger, stronger, or more armed. We won because we adapted, we acted together, and we never gave up. That is what makes humans different. That is what makes humans unstoppable." Cade looked at his captain. "Will they come back?" Var's eyes were steady. "Perhaps, but we'll be ready. Humans do not flee. Humans do not surrender. Humans face challenges and turn them into victories. That is who we are." Doss nodded. "And now the galaxy knows it." The alien survivors of the fleet limped back to their systems, carrying a lesson they would never forget. Humans were not just another species. They were unpredictable, intelligent, and fearless. They fought differently, thought differently, and acted in ways no alien strategy could anticipate. Across countless worlds, fear and respect for humanity began to grow. Leaders spoke of the Resolute and her crew as examples of courage and ingenuity. Ships were rebuilt, defenses reinforced, but the knowledge remained: never underestimate humans. In the Terran Alliance, the victory sparked a new era. Scientists studied human strategies, military leaders trained in human-style tactics, and citizens celebrated the extraordinary. Humanity had proven that one small ship, guided by clever minds and brave hearts, could change the fate of the galaxy. "Captain." Var walked the deck of the Resolute, looking out at the endless stars. "We came here to face war," he said quietly to himself. "And we've shown that courage, intelligence, and determination can stop it." Lieutenant Doss joined him. "Do you think they'll return?" Var shook his head. "If they do, we'll be ready. But for now, let's let the galaxy catch its breath. Humans have made their mark." The ship drifted through space, small and unassuming, yet a symbol of hope and power. It had faced impossible odds and won. One human ship had proven the strength of a species that refused to be underestimated. Months later, the Resolute became a legend. Stories spread across star systems: a tiny ship stopping a massive fleet, humans acting with intelligence and courage that no other species could match. Children on distant planets learned about Captain Var and his crew. Leaders studied their tactics. Humans themselves understood that their greatest weapons were not their guns, their shields, or their technology. They were their minds, their courage, and their ability to act when others hesitated. The galaxy had changed. Fear of humans was replaced by respect. Alliances were sought. Battles were reconsidered. Every civilization that had once doubted humanity now understood one simple truth. Humans were different. Humans were dangerous not because of numbers but because of who they were. Back on the bridge, Var looked at his crew. "We did something extraordinary," he said softly. "One ship, one crew, and we stopped a war before it began. But remember, this is only the beginning. Humanity's story has just begun, and we will continue to prove over and over that no fleet, no force can predict what humans will do next." Doss smiled. "And they'll never forget it." The Resolute moved, onward, drifting into the endless sea of stars. Small, brave, and unstoppable, it carried the legacy of courage, intelligence, and the human spirit. The galaxy would remember this day forever. One human ship had stopped a fleet. One human crew had changed history. And the legend of humans, the clever, fearless, unpredictable species, had only just begun.